Hey, everybody, welcome to the Monday night Team Up Home Base call. I hope that you had a fabulous weekend, and I hope that you have been just making the most out of this Qualifiers Day experience. And I have to tell you that your leadership is working overtime to help those of you that want to move through the marketing plan and get to the next levels. We are definitely your wingmen this month. Okay, and every month for that matter. But I do want you to know that in terms of wrapping up business for the month of March, as a team, over 125 of you have come close to 5 or more preferred customers. That's a huge whoop whoop. We're approaching close to 1,100 new orders in the system this month. And how appropriate that tonight's message is about recruiting, because we've brought on 55 new team members. So give it up for us. Give it up for us. Way to go. And so this series about basic training and getting back to basics with your business has been extraordinary. Amber Weaver was magnificent with the art of selling. But it doesn't stop here, because the next piece of the puzzle, of course, is extending the invitation to team, extending the invitation of the business, and nobody does it better than tonight's speaker. All right, our own Stephanie Fletcher, National Marketing Director, is going to absolutely blow your hair back. But I've got to tell you that when you hear about Steph Coach, you must think, oh, well, she's a graduate of IIN, the Institute of Integrated Nutrition. So someone that is so focused on health and wellness literally is training and leading us on recruiting? Absolutely. This girl knows how to wear both hats and have a good time doing it. So Coach Steph, unmute yourself, bring us your haven.
Woo! You guys, who does not like to get introduced by Terry Luongo? I mean, you feel like on top of the world. Okay, so I am really, really excited about this topic. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to assume before I get started that everyone that's on tonight is building your business. I mean, you're building your business. Yes? Okay, thank you. Y'all can raise your hands. I like to be interactive. This is more of conversation versus a presentation, okay? So I know you're all muted, so just pretend. And then secondly, I am also going to assume that recruiting might be the most uncomfortable part of your business. Yes or no? Raise your hand if it's a yes. Okay? So since I've been in the business about 3.5 years, I have heard so many times of I don't know what to say, or I don't even know, who do I ask, all this type of stuff. So we're going to kind of nip that in the bud tonight. So if recruiting is something that you are uncomfortable with, my goal tonight is for you to get comfortable with it when you get off this call, to where you're going to go and invite 5 people to the team after this call. Qualifiers Day tomorrow. They could get your HLP in 3 hours. Okay. So here's the deal. I'm going to back up a little bit to my story. So a lot of you guys have already heard my story, so I'm not going to repeat it in length. But I will tell you guys that I was a customer for 10 years, but I was a customer that signed up as a rep, but made it very clear to Holly Morris that I wanted nothing to do with this business. And so I don't even know if I even stayed a rep for that long. I think I just canceled out and didn't even know, but I was still in the product and still ordered for 10 years. Okay. And so when I became part of the business and I wanted to work the business, what I kept telling myself is, well, if I said no to one of my best friends for 10 years about the business, who in their right mind wants to do this business? Well, here was the biggest mistake in that sentence. It's probably 2 sentences, but whatever, was the part of me. I was thinking, this is what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be a part of this business. How am I going to ask anyone? It was all about me. And that is, I think, one of the greatest barriers to recruiting is you. All right. You are one of the biggest barriers to you recruiting. And so we're going to talk about just some tools that you guys can use. But before we do that, here's what we're going to do. So we're going to go through, and I'm going to take you guys down memory lane a little bit, but we're going to do that in just a second. I'm going to talk to you guys about 3 things, and y'all can take notes if you want, but also know that there is some incredible verbiage and some other things that we're going to post on our team pages for you guys to have, so you don't have to like scribble everything down. And so just know that's coming. But what I think is that there are 3 things to recruiting that are crucial. Number 1, the number 1 recruiting tool, I believe, is that you have to be confident about what you are doing and be excited about what you are doing. Now, it does not mean that you have to be one of those people that comes across very confident or whatever. I'm talking about you have to be confident in what you're doing, in your business, in your marketing plan, okay? And you want to be excited about what you're doing. I mean, there is nothing, you guys, I went to Starbucks. I go to this one particular Starbucks. There's this kid there, this guy. I'm not even sure he's a man. I don't know how old he is, but he looks young. And literally, I am not even joking. He calls me every name in the book. It's always something fancy and all this kind of stuff. And every drink, he elaborates into this very long thing. I mean, he loves his job at Starbucks, so much so that I've thought about maybe like working there part-time. I mean, he's like so excited. You want to know, like, what is it about Starbucks that you just love, that every drink he's like, good morning, how you doing? I mean, he just goes on and on in the drive-thru. It's like hilarious. And so, but that is so attractive. And so being confident about what you're doing and about your business that is yours, it belongs to you and you alone. And so that confidence is attractive. All right. So you want to be confident in what you're doing and you want to be excited about what you're doing. It's exciting to have a job. There's a lot of people that don't have jobs. That is an exciting thing. If you own your own business, that's exciting, people. All right. Number 2 is know your stuff. There might be another word for that, but my mom's on the phone, so I'm going to say know your stuff. Okay. So you want to know your stuff. If you don't know about the marketing plan, and here's the deal, guys. If you guys are brand new, like if you're one of those 55 that signed up this month and you're on this call, that's awesome. Way to be on the call, first of all. But this is stuff that your upline knows. So you don't have to know everything right away, but you do want to learn what your business is about. You want to learn the marketing plan. You want to have stuff that you're spouting off right away. So for instance, you want to say, $50 to sign up. That's what it takes to get started. How incredible is that? We're a virtual franchise. We have a food label on some of our products. How incredible is that? We are NSF certified. Do you even know what NSF certified is? If you don't tonight, then go find out. That's okay. That's what your upline's for. We've been in the company. It's a 45-year-old company. We're in 20 different countries. We have no quotas. We have no inventory. All this type of stuff, you want to be able to spout out about your amazing company. Okay. And so Terry was really nice. She put this little thing together that we'll also send out to you guys. And these are things that you can spout out. Okay. So some of the things that I said today, but you want to know that stuff because that comes across as confident in what you're doing again. Right. Okay. And then thirdly, you want, and in that, do you guys know how many different ways, and you guys can just raise your hand. I love that y'all are on mute. You can't say anything, but do you guys know how many different ways you can even make money in this company? Do you know that there's multiple ways that you can make money? So you have your retail profit, right? You have commissions. Who was that? Pamelia, you just raised your hand. I saw you because you're on my first screen. So you have your retail profit, you have your commissions, you have your bonuses, you have your team building bonuses, right? So the POB in the PB, all that. So all those things, you want to teach people how to make money. I mean, you want to be able to teach that. I get asked all the time, well, how do you make money? Well, here's how. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. And all that for just $50. No, I'm joking. That sounds like a salesman. We are salesmen, as Amber taught us. So it's okay. So you can sound like that. All right. Lastly is that, and this is one of the most important ones, is that you want to know your people. You want to become a master in asking questions. One of the things that I have learned from my husband, Lee, we go into a room and I am obviously, of the two of us, I'm the extrovert and he is the introvert, but he's kind of borderline. But one thing that I have learned from my husband, and he does this extremely well, We go into a room and y'all, I'm finally like, hey babe, like it's time to go, because he's in a full on conversation with whomever is in the room because he is asking people questions. And I've literally noticed that so many times we'll go out to dinner with people, he is the one asking questions. And I sit there and count, like, how many times have I asked my husband what he does or what his hobbies are or where he loves to go? People don't know the art of asking questions. But let me tell you guys, that is one of the biggest recruiting tools that you have, is asking people about them. And we're going to get to this of why this is so important, but this is essentially why I believe that I've been able to recruit some of the people that I have into my business, because I've learned how to ask them questions. And then with those answers, I have a solution. Okay. This business is a solution to a lot of those answers that these people are giving me. And so here's some things that I'm going to share with you guys. And then we're going to go down memory lane here for a second. So people want to come in to this business for different reasons, okay? They want to change their health. And so they feel like, hey, if I surround myself with a bunch of people that are also a little bit passionate about health, maybe it'll help me, okay? I truly believe people come in for just health reasons, period. Number two, they want community. They want a sense of belonging to something, okay? Number three, they need financial help. That is literally why I, at the very end, made the turn and decided, like, fine. And I gave Holly a reluctant yes, which we'll talk about that in a second. And it was because of financial reasons. We needed to pay some major hospital debt off. Number four, they want something to call their own. They want a purpose. And I think so many times, one of those four reasons, we knock people out before we ever ask them. Well, so-and-so makes a lot of money, so she probably doesn't need the financial help. So-and-so is super busy. She works full time. She's got 3 kids, so she just probably doesn't have the time. Or so-and-so already is really involved with a community. They probably don't need another community to belong to. Well, you are knocking people out before you ever ask them. And you have no idea if they have a need in any of those 3 other areas. Right? So maybe they're really good in one area, but how do you know that just because they're financially set that person's not also wanting something of their own, right? So you have to be really careful about not, pushing people aside before you ever ask. And I think we will excuse that away all the time. You'll make excuses for people and not to ask them all the time. So those are the reasons, why I think we build this community and why we want, why people want to join this team. So here's what I want to do. I asked some of my teammates who are frontline to me, and I asked them, because I think sometimes we forget that we're in this business. So therefore, you were recruited by somebody, right? And I think sometimes we forget how we were recruited and why we were recruited and why did we say yes? What was it that brought you to that point? And so I told them to take a minute to a minute and a half. So we're going to start with Ann. I want you to, Ann, if you can unmute, but I just want you to share. Some of them don't even know they're speaking tonight. I just had them send me a Voxer, but I was tricking them. But I want you to share kind of what was it that you, how do you feel like I recruited you? And then what in the end made you decide to say yes?
Well, so I met or kind of re-met Stephanie at our, can you all hear me okay? Mm-hmm. At our husband's high school reunion. Our husbands went to high school together, and Stephanie and I hit it off really well at that reunion because there was nobody else to talk to. I mean, you'd probably talk to Stephanie too, but she's great. But so it was really great to have met her. But she was telling me her story because I had known they'd been in Peru. I had known that Lee had been really sick, and I wanted to hear her story about what had been happening with their health. And so she was telling me that, and it totally intrigued me. She didn't say anything about Juice Plus because she had known that I had been taking it, but she really didn't know how I was on it, who I was working with, or anything like that. But it intrigued me, her story, and it really moved me to know how powerful nutrition was. She didn't say anything about the business or anything like that. But then 2 years down the road, I was in a different spot. 2 years down the road, different spot with my health. My husband and I both were feeling crummy, and I knew exactly who to go talk to. And so we had done a Shred 30 when there was a Shred 30. Now she told me there was a Shred 10, and I'm like, sign me up. I knew right where to go, and I wanted to be on her team. And so then we discussed the business. So there was a lot of time in there, but we stayed connected the whole time.
Okay. So thank you so much, Anne, for sharing that. So I want you guys to hear something. Number one, 2 years. Okay. So 2 years from the time that we connected, and I just kept connecting with her. Right. And then when she had a need, there was this point where it's like, okay, yeah, let's do this. And then obviously I asked her about the business. If her and her husband were doing it, I was like, you guys just got to come along. Right. So thanks for sharing that. Liz, and she is Australian, met her in Peru, and she now lives in Canada. But go ahead and kind of share your journey with me.
Not to confuse everybody. Okay, so so I knew Steph many years ago in Peru, and she introduced me to the product back then. And I think I took it for a short time and then relocated 2 or 3 times and just didn't continue. And then we just moved to Canada, and I was just talking to Steph one day, and she was just asking questions. What was I doing now? And I'd actually just finished some postgrad studies for primary teaching. Literally, I think to the day, had just submitted my final assignment, I think it was. So I had all this extra free time, which I was looking forward to having. And but as we got talking and she asked me questions, I realized that there was an opening there. And I guess of the, what was it, the 4 main things you said, Steph? The reason I said yes, I think, was for the purpose, because I had just finished studying. I was at home. I have my kids at home. One of them's in school, the other one's not. So I was looking for a purpose now, something to do, a way I could reinvest in my family, because my husband, we came here for his job. So for me, it was a purpose thing. But I also, who wouldn't want to work with Steph? So it was a great way to team up with her and work with her as well. So I agree. I mean, it was asking the questions, seeing where I was in my life, and she realized that it would fit really well for me. It would allow me to provide an income for the family, and give me that purpose. So that's why I said yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Liz. And I know everyone's like, I love her accent. I know y'all are, because I do too. That's why I talk to her every day on Voxer just to hear. So thank you for sharing that. So hers was, and when she was telling me, I'm home with both the girls and her husband works really hard and he travels some, and she had just gotten this teaching certification that she couldn't use in Australia because she was moving to Canada. And I'm thinking, we're in Canada and we're in Australia. And she can't work, but she wants to work, obviously, because she just got her certification to teach. And so do you see how you can kind of connect the dots, right? And so I was like, you need to do this with me. Hello. So that's kind of where asking those questions really came into play. So Lindy, I'm going to have her unmute, and she's actually not my front line. Allison Thompson recruited her, and Allison lives in Peru. But what was cool about her, and something that's different, and I want you guys to hear about, and we talk about this all the time, is the third-party validation. And so kind of talk about your process.
So I had kind of been thinking about the business, and what drew me into the business was financial reasons. I really needed it, but what stopped me from doing the business, just throwing my caution to the wind, was that I was nervous of the perception that it would be, or that I would fail publicly. And so Allison and I had chatted about it, but she convinced me to get on a 3-way call. And that was the biggest obstacle for me, was just the bravery to get on a 3-way call and meet somebody else. And through the conversation, I just felt so comfortable. And Stephanie and Allison laid out 2 goals for me right there on that call that were so doable. They were like, hey, you don't have to make a decision right now, right this minute, whether or not you're going to do this, whether this is going to be your lifelong career or anything. But why not try these 2 things? Make a post on social media, and let's get your first event on the calendar. And let's try those 2 things. And if those 2 things aren't for you and you get in it, no harm, no foul. It was $50. But let's give it a try, at least give it a try. And they both said, all you have to do is show up and invite your people. We've got it. You don't have to be a health expert. You don't have to know the ins and outs of the business. You just show up with your people and we'll take it from there. And so I felt like, okay, I can do that. I can tell people and I can invite them and they'll take it from there. And then I knew this isn't that big of a deal to throw events and all that stuff. And that gave me the confidence to keep going. But they had it under control from the very beginning. So that was me.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. And what's funny about Lindys Story is Allison had been watching her on social media. And so Allison knew that in the social media world, people were attracted to Lindy and like, commented and posted. And so when she came up with that plan of, why don't you just make a post and see what happens? Let's just all be honest here. We kind of knew that probably she was going to get some good feedback because of the fact that she had been watching her on social media. And she was like, dude, you got to meet this girl. Like, she's awesome. She's a teacher, blah, blah, blah. I know there's a financial need. And so like, we knew, about her. I mean, Allison did. She just told me right before the call who this person was, but it was really important for me to know that background right before I was on a 3-way call with Lindy. And so that 3-way is really important. And yeah, it was hard to get Lindy on there. Allison worked her tail off to get her on that 3-way because she was very reluctant, but she did. Okay. So I really want to encourage you guys to also do that. You guys, I could go on and on about my team, but I want you guys to kind of realize something. And Charlotte, are you on here? Yes, you are. I know she's like, what? She's my sweet little introvert, but I would love for you real quick. So just unmute, to kind of share about, cause you came in and this is something that I want to really encourage you guys. If you have current customers, sometimes I think we miss out on a lot of team because we're not utilizing our current customers and talking to them. But Charlotte was a current customer, somebody I had dripped on for a while. And so what was it that finally kind of was the key point to where you're like, okay, I want to, because I asked her several times and she was like, no, this is really not me. Like, I'm not a sales, and y'all have heard that so many times. Like, I don't do stuff like this and blah, blah, super quiet. So what was it that kind of was the turning point for you?
I went to that event, that Making Your Health Haven event. And that's when I finally got on the product. And then, it wasn't 4 months later that I was like, okay, she's asked me about this a few times. And I was never pressured. Like, she would just ask every now and then. And I would be like, no, not going to do it. And then, and I don't even know, it just, at the time, it just made sense to do it then and get some money back on the product. And yeah, it just made sense at that point.
Yeah. So, and I think it was Krista. Thank you, Charlotte, for sharing that. I think it was Krista who asked. Charlotte wasn't on the product. Her daughter was. Her daughter had a bout with cancer, and so she was on the product. But Charlotte was not on the product. And so when I was asking her, it was so that they would all be able to get on the product. And then I said, you could share it with a few other people, and then it could just go from there. So I really think that, and to answer your question, I've asked a lot of people onto team, Krista, that have never been on product before. So in fact, and I'll tell you guys my story real quick about how Pamelia obviously was one too, but how when I guess it was right after Holly had asked me and I started kind of doing the business a little bit, kind of getting some more customers. I'm not even sure I recruited anybody, but maybe my mom, I'm not sure. But I was growing for sure. My paycheck was growing and things were moving along and everyone was kind of excited. And then I started my health coaching school in January and I called Holly and I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm going to kind of back away from Juice Plus a little bit because I'm back in school. And I know now being on the other side of Holly probably going, oh, okay. So happy for you. Because I had just gotten into the business and she was probably like, finally, after 10 years. And then I'm like, hey, I'm going to back off a little bit. And so I did that. But then I kept on seeing my paycheck just continue to grow. And I was like, well, this is so weird. And then here comes the residual income, right? But then I went to an event. And this is where I really want to encourage you guys. You guys, events. I cannot emphasize how much you need to get your butt to an event. I don't care if it's in your city. I don't care if you have to drive. I don't care if you have to fly. Figure out some way. Oh, I just said but. There's kids on. Figure out how to get to an event around other people, because that is where my entire mentality changed. Because what I did is I sat in a room with 21, I think it was 21 at the time, other women that could be doing in men, but this was just for men. This is just for women. So you men that are on here, just know there's tons of stuff with men too, but this happened to be women. And I just thought to myself, they could be doing anything else and they are choosing to do this. And I don't know what it was about that. And Holly talked to me about that this was a vehicle, that Juice Plus was a vehicle. I was kind of seeing it as an end all be all. Like, I'm just always going to be the fruit and veggie lady. That's just going to be it. And I just, that wasn't like sitting well with me. Like I had other dreams and other plans. And she said, you have to have money and you have to have a vehicle and you have to have people and networks and connections to get to those plans. This is what this is. This is a vehicle to do all these other things. And I was like, oh, I'm a slow learner, y'all. Slow. And so I walked away from there and I started getting on the phone. And here's the deal. My personality never changed. I never changed. I was still the same person I was. The only thing that changed at that point was my mindset and what I actually wanted from this company. And so I went and I got it. And that is the month that I recruited 22 people to this team. And really, that's the secret sauce. It's you have to change your mindset. I was not afraid of them telling me no. Some of these people I hadn't talked to in 12 years that I was asking. And I thought to myself, well, if they said no, I'll just won't talk to them for another 12 if they get mad at me. I mean, let's just be honest. It wasn't, but I had a reason for why I called them. I wasn't just calling random strangers. I was calling, I said, hey, you are awesome at social media. You are so funny. I want you on my team to do what? It's a stuff called Juice Plus. I know you're not on it. You never heard of it, but you should get on it and you should join me. I mean, like, why not? And this girl said yes. And I was like, really? I mean, I literally was shocked. And then I had to back up and be like, oh yeah, I knew you were going to say yes because I'm confident. No, that grew, y'all. Confidence, it takes a while to grow in it. And I totally get that. But you got to be around people. You've got to know your information. You've got to stick with your upline. And the more that you know, the more confident you get. But you also can't just stay in this mental part of it. You've got to get out there and just ask, because it's not about you. It's about them. And there are so many vehicles, right, that people can get through. And this is one of those vehicles. But no one's going to get anywhere in the driver's seat if you don't ask them into the Uber, people. You got to ask them in. Okay, so that's just what you have to ask. You have to learn your business. So here's my last parting words. That went by really fast, Terry. Okay, so you want to be attractive. And I'm not talking about being hot. I'm talking about attract people. You can do that by being a good host. Do you attract people into your home? Do you attract people by being a good listener? Are you quiet and you are so good at listening? Those people are attractive to me because sometimes I'm not that good sometimes. Are you a good educator? You can attract people in so many different ways, but be attractive. Be confident in what you have to give people, because this is a gift. This vehicle is priceless. And anytime people get in, it's priceless. They can go wherever they want. Become a master at asking questions, because without those questions, you're not going to master recruiting. So master questions and have fun, you guys. If you're not having fun, and if you're focusing on what this company is not giving you, that's not fun. Focus on what it is giving you. Even if it's $20 a month in a paycheck, you weren't getting that before. So be thankful for that $22 paycheck. Okay. If you're getting enough to cover your product, that's awesome. But just focus on the positive, and that is attractive. All that.
Wow. Okay. When this series is over, would you come back and continue and kind of rehash? This was such fabulous information, Stephanie. And I think we're going to want more of this. Your bullets are so spot on. And if I could leave you guys with one thought, Stephanie said over and over again, be confident, be confident. Well, nothing grows confidence better by doing the very things that she's telling you to do. You want to boost up your confidence, then get out there and invite people to the team. Okay? Confidence grows by doing the activity. Steph Fletch, you were amazing. Now, what we're going to do, you guys know, we're going to have a recap, a rehash. All right. So if you're under tonight, if you're under Kathy Crockett, if you're under me, without another national marketing director, Okay, Judy Strickler, Jen Henry Hageman. We're going to jump off and come back on. Everybody else, you know where you're supposed to go.
Bye.
Peace out. You guys are the best. God bless.
Thank you, Steph.
Thanks, guys.